What's up? A to Z Sports, Nashville, prime time here on a lovely June Tuesday evening. Although lovely might be overselling it a hair because it is so hot here in Nashville. We finally got rid of some of the rain, and in its place is the heat. We got off pretty easy, I feel like, Ross, with the temperature this year, and then the bill always comes due, and now we're in the thick of the summer. Very, very wet outside today, but we're inside and we are in the cool of night now, talking a little Titans here on a Tuesday night. I'm your host, of course, Easton Freeze. If you're expecting Buck Rising on Tuesday nights, it's too bad, so sad for you. You get your, I believe the Surgeon General of the U.S. actually recommends you go at least one day without Buck Rising a week for your general well-being. So I'm here to provide that. Hope you guys are having a great beginning to your week. I don't know, Tuesday night, the middle of your week, whatever you'd call it. Jump in the comments, like the show, do all of the things. Make sure you're following us here on the A to Z Sports YouTube channel, and then jump in the comments like B-Birds here. What, primetime starting on time? Yeah, that's another thing about the Easton Freeze version of the primetime shows is that I have a child in this house who it would behoove me to be done with this show by like 7:30-ish for the other things that are happening around the house. So I'm going to try to do that as best as possible. So we may start a couple minutes early some weeks like we did today. And it looks like those of you that tune in live are not used to that, frankly, because of how many people I see already in the comments and the number of eyeballs that the screen tells me we have on the show. So welcome in as we got folks trickling in here. I'm just going to continue to vamp about the show. Again, make sure you have liked the show on Facebook or on YouTube. We appreciate that. It is free to you. It's very helpful to us when you like the show. And then make sure you've shared the show. Send the link to a buddy. Say, hey, Buck's not here. Easton's in here tonight. It's going to be way better. Get in here. We're going to talk some Titans ball. The topic of tonight's conversation is none of these things you see here on the screen. We didn't change these from the last time. That this is poor producing on our part, and I got my man Ross on the stick back there producing. This one, not his fault. This one, me not realizing that's a thing that's changed. I'm still figuring this out. Don't worry about it. So ignore these things. What we're actually talking about tonight is the 2025 Titans draft class and why I think it is more likely to, or maybe most likely, to crash and burn or be a big success based on the players that everyone has kind of ignored so far. And those players are the two top 100 picks not named Cam Ward, the two defenders the Titans drafted on day 2. So I want to talk a little bit about Femi Dejo and Dejo. I don't know why I still can't get it out of my head. I say Dejo like, you don't pronounce the J in Spanish, but no, it's Femi Dejo. And Kevin Winston Jr., the safety out of Penn State. Two guys that we've not seen a whole lot from. One we've seen practically nothing from. But two guys that are very important to the success of this Titans team, both this year and into the future. So like the show, lock in, jump into the comments. Want to hear your thoughts on tonight's show. Spend the next couple of minutes talking about those two Titans players. But first, got to tell you all about our wonderful and amazing sponsors that make the show happen. Ford dealership over in Mount Juliet. It's called Two Rivers. Fantastic establishment. They are serving all of Nashville and the Middle Tennessee area. Got to check out Two Rivers Ford over there if you're searching for a trusted Ford dealership in the Mount Juliet, Middle Tennessee area. Two Rivers, they've got you covered. They are the leading Ford dealership in the area, and they pride themselves on offering an exceptional selection of new and used Ford vehicles with a particular focus on the ever-popular F-150 and F-250 Super Duty trucks. Their commitment to customer satisfaction and quality service sets them apart from other car dealerships in the area. So shout out to Two Rivers Ford. Also shout out to TrueMath Fitness, where they are offering you more than just the average workout. Their signature programming is a challenging boot camp style class that offers high intensity training. The classes are led by instructors who are consistently pushing your limits and inspiring you to be your best self, not only inside, but also outside the gym. And they never recycle or repeat a workout. Your first workout is free. Go and check them out and tell them that A to Z Sports Prime Time sent you. All right, everybody. Thank you for being here on a Tuesday night, talking about the two top 100 picks the Titans made that aren't named Cam Ward. And, Cam's going to be the top billing for this class if we're talking about what defines the class, right? Obviously, now and throughout the year and forever, this class is going to be defined by the quarterback you took number 1 overall. But if we're setting him aside and saying, hey, there were 8 other draft picks the Titans made, and those guys are going to be a big part of whether or not the Titans are turning this franchise around or whether or not they continue to be mired in mediocrity, the positions that catch our eye the most this time of year in the spring are the guys that shine in 7-on-7s and in 11-on-11s. And so it's been Cam Ward's new targets that for the most part we're drawn to. The day 3 guys have gotten outsized attention. So you've got 4th round wide receivers, Chimere Dike, Alec Ayumanner, 4th round tight end Gunnar Helm, UDFA wide receiver Xavier Restrepo. All of these guys, they've flashed in some form or fashion so far. But the renovation of the passing game, albeit exciting, may not be what defines this 2025 draft class. Because when I think back to before the draft, the emphasis from us in the media and from the Titans when we talked to them and the brass and Chad Brinker and Mike Borgonzi and, hey, what's most important to you guys in this draft? In particular, they were emphasizing top 100 picks, right? And we all do that. Top 100 picks. Got to have as many top 100 picks as possible. That's where typically the good players, the starters, the contributors come from. And for the Titans, the discussion revolved around if and how they could add a 3rd round pick, which they had given away in the L'Jarius Sneed trade, needed another one of those. They did so by trading back in the 2nd, and that's where they get, they moved from 35 back to 54, 52 something, where they got Femi Dejo, and then 87 or something, 80 something, where they got Kevin Winston Jr. And so they accomplished that goal. Great. Got a pick in each of the first 3 rounds, needed to make that happen. I think those 2 selections they made on that Friday night, both defenders, could just as easily as the pass catchers, maybe just as easily as Cam Ward, be what makes or breaks what is supposed to be a foundational class for this team. So, Ross, let's ask our first question of the night. What are your expectations in 2025 for Femi Dejo, the Titans' 2nd round pick? I think he was actually the 52nd pick now that I think about it, but neither here nor there. What are your expectations in 2025, this year, as a rookie for Femi Dejo? Because these are 2 names, Femi and Kevin Winston, who we're going to talk about him in particular in a minute. So save those takes. We'll get those off in the chat in just a minute. We haven't heard a ton about them yet. It's because there hasn't been a whole lot to see. With Winston Jr. hasn't joined the safety rotation fully yet because he's finishing the rehab on a torn ACL from early in the fall. I think he's before his 2nd. I think he played 1 game last year before tearing his ACL. So bad news for his last year in college. Good news for him returning quickly because it's, the fastest possible recovery for him. And, back in February, maybe March, no later than March, he was already at the Penn State Pro Day running his 40-yard dash time, being, what would that have been, like 6 months post-op, which is just outrageous. But he was doing it and ran like a decent time too. I forget what it was, but I was like, wow, that was a real 40. Probably not his top speed, but still 6 months post-op from an ACL. It's impressive, modern medicine. That injury, if we're being honest, is really the only reason why, and I think Nick Saban on the draft broadcast said it the night of the draft, the only reason why this guy was a pick in the 80s and not a pick in the 30s was because of the fact that he got hurt and missed that last year of college. And so the trajectory for him before getting hurt was that he was going to get picked, I think, closer to round 1 than round 3 in the draft. And then Oladejo, he's working with the edges. We've seen him work with the edges. He's wearing number 7, which is kind of funky for an edge player. Big body, really big, towering guy, very built out, big, gym bro arms, very muscly dude. And he's wearing number 7, which is kind of funny to some people. You get used to it though. I think he kind of rocks it, to be honest with you. He looks really big amongst them. He radiates that endless energy that he has, that his teammates and his coaches rant and rave about, but he's still learning the fundamentals of being an NFL player and can't hit anybody yet. So those are the kind of the reasons for both of these guys why we haven't seen a whole lot. And Ross is going to throw some of these answers up here. Jeffrey Mullen says Femi is a stud. He should be your number 2 edge by the end of the year, if not number 1. See, this is interesting because I'm not trying to be a hater. I'm really not. With Femi, who I liked as a pick, they're guys that, I think with these day 2 picks in particular, the Titans made some long-term plays, right? Because don't get me wrong, the Cam's success or his failure as a pro, that'll be what defines the class. And I think they sent a clear message with this draft class that they're trying to turn a page with the franchise. They want the rookies to be a big part of it. And if we're looking at day 3, the offensive weapons are exciting so far. I get it. Like, I'm stoked about these 4th-round picks. But history tells us that a very small percentage of day 3 receivers, or anybody that catches the ball, aren't going to even reach 500 yards as a rookie. It's not good chances. I think I wrote an article about it months ago. I think it's like 11% of those guys go on to have at least 500 yards as a rookie. And so there can be exceptions to the rule. And the fact that 3 of these guys are 4th-round picks and not 6th or 7th-round picks, that helps the odds. But they would still be an exception to that rule. So these day 2 guys, they're expected to pan out on the team. Like, if these guys bust, they will be disappointments, no doubt. If Coel Mullings, a 6th-round running back, doesn't quite work out, you took a flyer. That's the nature of day 3. Day 2 guys are supposed to work. And they both play pretty high leverage positions on this defense, in my opinion, in terms of the landscape of the roster. Winston was a top 100 swing on a safety, and he's going to, take over, I think, for the 2 veterans that they have at safety who are both on expiring contracts this year. If all goes to plan, that's going to make that position more easy to move off of one or both of those guys. And if he doesn't pan out, that position is going to be pretty uncertain and potentially way more expensive than it would have otherwise in the near future. And then Ola Dejo, who I want to keep getting y'all's answers on whether or not you're expecting big things from him this year or not. He's the highest draft pick they've spent on edge since they drafted Harold Landry in the 2nd round, in the slightly higher, in the 30s, in 2018, I believe, in 2018. And many people suspect that Tennessee is going to go edge in the 1st round the next year, just because that's the position that they still are dying to get. And that's basically where you have to get pure alpha edge rushers, is in the 1st round. But that's not a given. And what do you do in the meantime? Because there's a whole season of football to be played between now and then. Arden Key, we know, is a fine rusher, but he's better as a rotational player. Draymond Jones, he appears to be an upgrade over Harold Landry, but he's never really been asked to be a team's lead rusher before, so we don't know what that's going to look like. All of that to say, all this rambling to answer that initial question, I think Ola Dejo is going to be expected to be an impact player in 2025, but I'm not sure that that's a fair expectation for him. And so, to answer my own question of what are you expecting from Femi Dejo this year, I'm kind of expecting something along the lines of what Harold Landry's rookie year was, which I'll pull up his stats to kind of remind people what that looked like. It wasn't take the league by storm. It very much, and he didn't start until week 15, I believe, in that 2018 season. So I'm pulling it up right here. In his 2018 season, he tallied 4.5 sacks. Harold Landry did 44 combined tackles, 24 solo tackles, 5 tackles for loss, 14 quarterback hits. He started the final 3 games of the season, so he wasn't even the starter until the very tail end of the year. I'll be honest, that's kind of what I'm expecting from him. Let's see. He played 60% of the Titans' snap counts on defense, played just over 40% on special teams, so getting that team's work in as a rookie. I think that's a lot like what Femi's going to look like. And now maybe he has to do more in this Titans offense because there's less that is helping him as compared to what, like, Harold, I think, had some more edge help around him in 2018, if I'm not mistaken, than Femi's going to have this year, because it is literally just Arden and Draymond, and that's kind of the end of the list. And so in a way, Ola Dejo being an impact player in 2025 could be the Titans' only hope of having a decent pass rush this year. But as Randy in the comments says, Femi's energy alone should be good for 5 to 6 sacks. I'd be happy with that. I think Randy's all over it. I kind of think that's what the expectation should be, is 5 or 6 sacks. He's somebody that needs to, you hear about like the edge rusher. What kind of tools he got in the bag? What kind of moves does he have? And that's, people that really study the game will tell you it's kind of overrated whether or not a guy has an extensive variety of tools that they can use. But there's a balance there where you do need to have more than a move. Like, it'd be nice to have some versatility as a rusher. And with Femi, only 10 games at his natural position in college. So he's got, it's not shocking at all that he's limited in this way. And it's not crazy to expect him to develop in a hurry in this way. But he's kind of, one-trick pony is harsh, but he's not somebody that uses different pass rush moves super effectively yet. And so that's going to be a big part of his development is, can he diversify his bag in that way? Richie G asks, how many snaps has Femi taken at edge? 10? No, he's not taken 10 snaps, but he's only played in 10 games at edge. And I can see if on the fly I can pull up how many snaps he has on PFF. Whether or not I'm logged in on my computer will be the answer to that. And it looks like I am. So we'll be able to do that here in a second. Let's ask the next question, Ross. What is your expectation for Kevin Winston Jr., the Titans' third-round safety? Different situation, not as dramatic an expectation, I think, just based on the guys that are in front of him. You've got 2 starters that you can rely upon to fill out that starting defense. You need rotation. And so Kevin, like, when he's good, they're going to get him in there. And I want to talk about that here in a minute. But he's not going to be, I think, as relied upon as early as Femi is unfortunately just going to have to be if they want to have a half decent rush. So let me look up Femi Dejo on PFF here. Oh, how often have you heard his full name said? Ever? Maybe some of you never. I never learned how to say it because it's always been Femi. Oluwafemi Oladejo. Sure, that sounds about right. I need his college stats, PFF. Come on, it's not helpful at all. Give me, okay, well, you only have his NFL stats? That's what you're telling me? I doubt it. So let's see. Get your questions in here. What are your expectations for Kevin Winston Jr. in 2025? Here we go. College stats. Perfect. Defense, snaps by position. So to answer your question, as an edge rusher, he has played. So last year, he had 732 snaps. And they have it broken down by the technique. So he played hand in the dirt almost all of them, all but 2 games. So of the 732, probably like 550, 600 of them, which is not many, to answer the question. Not many at all. If he has a good season this year, he will far surpass that, maybe close to triple it. Randy says, imagine if Winston could be our new Dane Cruikshank. So this is interesting, right? He's talking about Dane Cruikshank, who I believe at one point we referred to as the tight end eraser, right? Winston's calling card in college was his ability to never, ever miss a tackle. He had, anyone want to guess in the chat what his missed tackle rate was in his college career at Penn State? Anybody? I'll give you a second to guess what that number is. Pretty low. This guy is nails when it comes to getting his hands on you and then taking you down. He's also got really impressive range, sideline to sideline. So he's a heat-seeking missile type on the defense. Mike guessed 2%. Good guess. Try 0.0%. He did not miss a tackle at Penn State. If he touched the player, he tackled the player. It was that simple, which is, I don't think it's hyperbolic to say, and I asked some people that have been doing this longer than me, he's probably the best tackling prospect at safety we've seen in at least a decade, which is kind of a niche thing, but that's still outrageous that he's that good of a tackler, and it would have been a big reason why he went so high in the draft if he hadn't gotten hurt last year. Charles says, spot play, Winston may start toward the end of the season if record is bad. So in a recent article I did at A2ZSports.com, I projected when different players would get their first starts. And for Femi and Winston, both, just spoiler here, I had them both getting their first start in week 15. And that's kind of arbitrary. That's the 49ers game, I believe, West Coast, 4:00 game. I picked that because that's when Harold Landry got his first start. And that just kind of felt like a good marker for end of the season. They'll be worked in before then, for sure. They'll be relied upon to be impact players at times before them. But I think that's probably around the time, end of the season, that he's going to be asked to be out there. And Steven Rodriguez says he'll be an all-pro for years to come. They both very well may be. The problem is they're both 2 to 3 year long-term bets. And so that's what I'm trying to get at with the thesis of tonight's show, is that both of these players, I think, were in a vacuum on paper, quality draft picks, but they were long-term investments. These were annuities. The Titans were they were buying bonds. And this is not crypto. Like, we're not riding these guys to the moon in 2025. And I think fans need to understand that and accept that, because they're both going to be put in positions this year to make big plays. And I'm not saying they won't make them. I'm just saying I'm not going into the year expecting them to be plug, because there's different types of day 2 picks. Like some of these second rounders that got picked, some of these third rounders that got picked are expected to and are going to be plug and play starters and be near their ceiling in a hurry. Some of them, like Femi Dejo and Kevin Winston, are annuity bonds that are you purchase through the government and they increase in value by 2% annually, and you have to wait 10 years to pay them off. Now that's where the metaphor gets lost, because I think with these guys you wait 2 to 3 years. I think in the second or third year of their contract, that's when they're going to be hitting their stride. That's when the Titans front office told us multiple times before the draft, this is the range that we're looking for. Like we're a team that we see ourselves as a 2 or 3 year rebuild. Now, maybe Cam Ward is a rocket ship that gets us there in a hurry. And if so, we'll deal with the consequences of that, the circumstances of that when it happens. That'll be a good problem to have. Obviously, if you go full Washington Commanders 2024 mode, good for you, man. We'll figure it out. But if it's a more reasonable, normal ascent in the NFL, then it's a 2 to 3 year rebuild for this team. And they can, they're going to show flashes and they may be good next year, like a good team. They may be great 3 years from now. That's kind of what they're hoping the trajectory looks like. And that's why they wanted guys like these two, because they're going to mature along with the maturation of the team as a whole on paper. That's the idea. So I think it was a good decision. I just think it sets these players up and fans up to not quite be on the same page for what to expect. Because while they may be guys that we look back on at the end of their Titans career and say, man, great picks. What awesome Titans. Loved watching those guys play. In year one, with the blinders on, with no perspective, there might be a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth over why Femi Dejo through 10 weeks only has 2 sacks. Like, that's a possibility. And I'm not praying on his downfall. I hope that he is on a rocket ship of his own, that, he has gotten so much better from his first game as an edge player to his 10th game as an edge player. Great. Awesome. But that is something that I'll believe it when I see it. The NFL is a whole new beast. Toby the Titan chiming in, watching A to Z primetime for the first time in a long time. Sorry, I'm late. I'll excuse you this one time, but that is a mark against you. Is Easton asking questions, then highlighting responses you disagree with and ripping the responder, or is that just Buck's shtick? I mean, I'll give it to you if I think you're a moron in the comments, but this is my second time doing this. I've not had any big time morons. Frankly, the chat's been kind of dry, so I've just been getting these takes off over here, to be honest with you. So if y'all want to chime in, like, I'm keeping an eye on it. And Ross in the comments replying, that's Buck's thing. You got to know your brand, and that's Buck's brand, not really my brand. I'm more the thinking's man thing. It's a tough way to do that, to just completely botch it, isn't it? I'm more the thinking man's host, which you probably don't believe me now that I don't know how to speak. Okay, so we've got a solid 10 minutes left on the show, and I don't have anything planned for it, Ross. People know this about me. I can sit here and just ramble about the Titans however long for the next hour. I could do it pretty easily, but I want to kind of open it up to folks in the chat. Anything on your mind, any questions you have, any topics you have, Titans related or otherwise, throw some prompts in there. I also don't have a viral video planned for today, which I said last week I would have. I lied. I don't. I forgot to do that again. So we'll get better about that. Something that I wanted to float by you guys here on our, the Tuesday bubble here on the primetime show is I don't really have a super great avenue at the moment. We're always working behind the scenes at A to Z, but like, I've got a lot of cool friends that have a lot of Titans takes and NFL takes, and like people I love to talk with. And I think they're conversations that you guys would enjoy, but would you be opposed maybe in a summer week when there's just not much to talk about? What if I got, a buddy of mine in here from the Nashville media that otherwise we don't talk to? What if we got Zach Lyons or Stoney Keeley in here to chat ball? What if we got Paul Kaharski in here and we just yelled at each other for an hour or 30 minutes? How would you feel about that? Just kicking the can. I could get my boy Teron Davenport in here, maybe. Like, we could just have some conversations on primetime, which I know is not a primetime thing. So if y'all want to keep primetime sacred, where it's just, me chatting back and forth with the chat, that's fine. Let me know. But just an idea, just a thought. So let me know about that. Randy says, who's your bet at inside linebacker besides Barton? It's a guess. My guess is James Williams. it's a three-man race. So James Williams and Cedric Gray are the second-year draft picks from last year that they kind of want to have somebody step up into that role. Anthony Orji, Vanderbilt legend, for those of you that know, Saints player last year, no longer with the Saints, now with the Titans. To be honest with you, was not even considering him even a little bit as a potential roster spot guy going into minicamp. And then at minicamp, we talked to the coaches about the players at the position, and all of them kept mentioning Anthony Orji. And then my good friend James Foster, who is a wizard with the tape and is a fantastic evaluator, went back and watched, like the sicko that he is, the Anthony Orji tape from last year, and came back and said on Twitter, there's a whole cut up. He's like, Anthony Orji might be the guy. Like, there's something here. Like, this guy can work. So maybe it's Anthony Orji, and we're all sleeping on Anthony Orji. We will see when the pads come on. That's the real big test right there. Richie G. Yeah, are they trading Levis, or is he going to be quarterback too? I maintain that they want to trade him. We will see whether or not they can do that. Obviously, trade is a two-way street. Got to have somebody show up wanting him. I think you may have to have something happen around the league. A team suddenly need a quarterback for circumstances to change, for guys to get hurt, God forbid, or for guys to prove that they're not, they're just not cutting it. I think that all parties involved, the team, Will Levis's team, and us, it would be in everyone's best interest for him to be traded. And it's what everybody wants to happen. I know that it's what everybody wants to happen. So we'll see. If he's not traded, he will be the backup because he's just so far and away better than the other two. It would be impossible unless you just think he's a locker room cancer, which unless I have missing something dramatic about Will Levis in the last year, he's super not. Then you're keeping him as your backup because he's clearly the best of the other three options. I am somebody, though, which maybe this is the controversial take here. I'm somebody that kind of thinks that this is a team that should have a bad backup quarterback. I think the bad teams should have bad backup quarterbacks, and the good teams should do everything in their power to have good backup quarterbacks. But that's maybe a conversation for another time. Saw somebody say a minute ago, the Burks thing. Why is Burks not gone? Why? I get this a lot. Why would Burks be gone? Like, what incentive is there for the team to get rid of Treylon Burks? He's free to them. He's still under contract. He's currently hurt. So, he's rehabbing. He's not going to be on the team in the fall. So, like, what's the point of just cutting him now to do what exactly? There's no reason to. I'm sure your reasons for wanting him gone is so you can just quit thinking about him, which fair enough, man. Do you? Like, I get it. I do. But there's not an actual football reason to cut him randomly in June or back in May or before then. He's still an asset that you have cost control of. So that is that. Let's see. Toby the Titan recommends maybe bring in the equivalent at A to Z, or the equivalent to A to Z Nashville for the Colts, Jags, and Texans, and chat with them for the show. Ask a question. Hey, that's a good idea, Toby. I like that. We could start with my friend Destin Adams, who covers the Colts for A to Z, and then I know some folks that cover the Texans and the Jaguars that could make some interesting, maybe some season preview episodes. I'm gonna toss that idea around. I'll put that on the board. We'll see what we can do. Let's see. Anything else? Ross says we don't like those teams. I guess not, but Ross, you got to keep your friends close and your enemies closer. That's how winners win.
I'm just placating to the home fan base here,
right? Just pandering. I know. I respect that. Yeah. Well, that's the show. Next time I'll bring something. Last week we did a funny end of show topic with Bert where I asked a question and made a top 5 list with something that didn't have to do with football. I'll see if I can't scrounge something up more fun for the end of show next week. But for this week, we'll keep it light. It's a late June evening. Go enjoy your evenings. Go do something other than be on your phone, maybe, which I don't know if I'll necessarily take that advice. I'm probably being a hypocrite here, but it is still good advice, even if I'm not going to follow it. It's to go touch some grass here on this Tuesday evening. Until then, for Ross, who I appreciate, Ross, thank you for manning the ship. I'll be back tomorrow morning with Austin in what should be a better and more structured version of the A to Z YouTube channel. We'll be talking, I'm not going to tell you what we're going to be talking about yet. Tomorrow's a fun topic, though. Should be a good one on the morning show at 8:05-ish a.m. Central Standard Time. As always, join us then. I've got some articles on A to Z Sports.com coming out every day. Check them out. Search Easton, search the Titans, do all those things. For Ross, I'm your host, Easton Freeze. We will talk to you tomorrow.
There's a very low percentage of this that is smiles and glory holes.